Our next story is about China's territorial ambitions in Central Asia. You see, China is expanding its presence in this region through billion-dollar agreements. Recently, Kazakhstan and China inked deals worth $16.54 billion. It primarily focused on enhancing transport routes and boosting trade turnover. Reports suggest that discussions even extended into Xinjiang. China's growing influence and footprint in Central Asia is raising concerns among global stakeholders. After all, Beijing's ambitions here have far-reaching implications for regional stability, human rights, and of course the dynamics of regional security. Let's get into the details now. According to Kazakhstan's presidential press service, during President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev's visit to China in mid-October, officials signed a substantial number of documents, totaling at least 30. They inked a range of agreements such as investments, trade, technology transfers, and the opening of credit lines, among others. However, the most noteworthy deal, the agreement that commands our attention, is the enhancement of the Trans-Caspian international transport route capacity, increasing it fivefold. This development is significant, given that approximately 85% of all land transit traffic from China to Europe passes through Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan has allocated a substantial $35 billion for highway development over the next 15 years. The country plans to construct an additional 1,300 kilometers of new railway tracks within the 3 years. According to Kazakhstan's Ministry of National Economy, the Kazakh-Chinese trade turnover for January to August this year was a whopping $19 billion. That's a 23% surge compared to the same period last year, when it was $15.5 billion. But here's the twist. Most of this growth is a one-way street. Exports from Kazakhstan to China amounted to $9 billion, a modest rise of 2.1%. But imports into Kazakhstan from China, they hit $10 billion. Now that's a 49.5% year-on-year rise. To confuse matters, Jiang Wei, the Consul General of China in Almaty, reportedly completed different trade figures. According to Chinese statistics, for the same 8-month period, he pegged bilateral trade at $25.23 billion. So what's going on here? What explains this discrepancy? Some economic observers are suggesting smuggling and corruption might be the culprits. But there's more. The Belt and Road Initiative related action in Beijing this mid-October. The Kazakh president jet-setted to China's westernmost Xinjiang province. He met with Ma Xingrui, the regional Communist Party boss. The discussions, expanding trade and developing tourism. Now you might be thinking, why is that a big deal? Well, Xinjiang is ground zero for China's controversial crackdown on its Muslim minority groups, including ethnic Kazakhs. This province, which borders Kazakhstan, played a significant role in accounting for over 40% of China's overall trade with Kazakhstan, and that is just in the first half of this year. Meanwhile, Uzbekistan has seen its investment from China skyrocket fivefold. That's not all. Both nations are deep in discussions about supercharging sectors like metallurgy, energy, cutting-edge communication technology. We're not done yet. Turkmenistan is joining forces with China in what they call technical and economic cooperation. Not much is known regarding the contents of their deal, but there are interesting talks about expanding the China Central Asia gas pipeline. So basically, a whole bunch of deals have been signed between Central Asian states and China. It all went down on the sidelines of last week's Grand Beijing Jamboree, celebrating the 10th anniversary of the Belt and Road Initiative. These big deals merit our attention. Let's connect the dots. The dots of China's expanding trade web in Central Asia. It's all about the big picture here. In a nutshell, China has been busy sealing deals left and right, and it's all part of a bigger plan. The numbers speak for themselves. The balance of trade with Central Asia is clearly leaning in favor of China. In the first half of this year, they exported a jaw-dropping $26.4 billion worth of goods and services to Central Asia. On the flip side, they imported $13.5 billion, creating quite the trade gap. What's the big takeaway? Central Asia is witnessing a surge in China's influence and trade dominance. While Beijing maintains a relatively light military presence in the region, its economic footprint in Central Asia has grown immensely in recent years. And this is all part of the Belt section of China's Belt and Road, which involves overland routes. They will connect China to Europe via Central Asia. The staggering numbers speak for themselves. More than 100 BRI projects have been funded in Central Asia, and the region is becoming synonymous with Chinese projects. This level of financial clout is something that the EU can hardly hope to match in a region that shares a direct border with China. This is why China's rising influence in Central Asia is gaining attention. While Russia has been dominant here, China now is making significant inroads with a notable rise in arms supply and the establishment of military bases. What does all this mean for India? Well, India has concerns about China's expanding influence in the region, rightfully so, particularly because of the Belt and Road Initiative. China's economic initiatives often lead to dependencies. Their debt-trapped approach has raised alarm. But India is also actively expanding cooperation in the region to ensure stability and connectivity. The Central Asian countries also turn to India as a counterbalance to China. WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.